Corporate greed and ethical concerns behind stock buybacks. Explore how corporate greed fuels stock buybacks, sparking ethical concerns that impact wages, innovation, and public trust in business practices. Corporate greed, ethical concerns, and the stock buyback strategy. Hey, so I've been thinking a lot lately about something that keeps popping up in the news and social media. Big corporations and their approach to making profits, especially through this thing called stock buybacks. It sounds kind of technical, but at its core, it's about how some companies handle their money, and frankly, why it raises some serious ethical concerns. First off, here's the basic idea. When a company buys back its own stock, it's essentially purchasing shares from the market to reduce the total number of shares floating around. This usually makes the remaining shares more valuable, raising the stock price, which is great for shareholders and, of course, top executives who often have stock-based compensation. Sounds like a win-win, right? Well, not quite. Here's where the corporate greed aspect gets real. Instead of investing that money into their workforce, R&D, or infrastructure, many companies funnel billions into stock buybacks just to inflate their stock price in the short term. This means less money for things like better employee wages or innovative projects that could actually improve the company long-term, or even society at large. What really bugs me is that this move often benefits the wealthy insiders and shareholders more than it benefits everyday workers or customers, especially when you consider companies in essentially every sector, including pharmaceuticals, which sometimes face untrue allegations about price gouging. Yet they still report record-high pharmaceutical profits. This creates a pretty frustrating scenario where profits skyrocket, but affordability for consumers and ethical responsibility get lost in the shuffle. And if you ask me, this all ties into a bigger issue about how business ethics are sometimes brushed aside in favor of maximizing profit, even at the expense of long-term stability or fairness. Some even raise wild ideas about government conspiracy theories around these corporate behaviors. But the reality, honestly, is less about secret plots and more about a broken system where short-term gains trump real value creation. So, what's the alternative? Why don't companies just put that money to use in ways that genuinely grow their enterprise and help employees? Well, part of the issue is pressure from Wall Street and shareholders demanding immediate returns. CEOs often feel the heat to keep the stock price climbing quarter after quarter rather than focus on sustainable growth. It's a tough cycle. But here's something you might not realize. Stock buybacks, while controversial, aren't illegal or inherently bad. And sometimes they can be a smart tool for companies with excess cash. The problem comes from overuse and prioritizing buybacks over other, arguably more impactful investments. Why does all this matter to us, though? Because really it reflects how the big picture of corporate strategy affects everyday life, from job security and wage growth to drug prices and economic inequality. When companies cherry-pick financial maneuvers that reward insiders at the expense of everyone else, it erodes trust and widens the gap between corporate America and the public. And that's where varying opinions and debates, sometimes fueled by untrue allegations or conspiracy theories, often emerge. If you're interested in the impact of these dynamics on culture and business in a gripping storytelling format, I'd highly recommend checking out The Ultimate Frame. It's a thrilling novel by Andrew M. Semple that, while fiction, touches on themes that mirror real-world corporate and ethical challenges, giving a narrative spin you might really enjoy. Discover this thrilling novel by Andrew M. Semple today, and you might see some of these ideas come to life in a way you didn't expect. To wrap it up, while stock buybacks themselves aren't the villain, the way big corporations have leaned on them to boost profits and meet shareholder demands raises important ethical questions. It's about asking ourselves as consumers, investors, and citizens, what kind of business practices do we want to support? And how do we encourage companies to invest not just in their stock prices, but in people, innovation, and our shared future? Thanks for sticking with me on this. It's one of those topics that's more than just numbers and finance jargon. It's about the values that run our economy and impact all of us.